Uh-oh. Apparently there's an investigation going on in regards to Thomas Lockley. If you guys aren't aware, this is the author who's created this whole legendary story about Yasuke, the black samurai, who's going to be the lead protagonist in Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you weren't aware, there is a petition made by Japanese gamers with over 92,000 signatures where they feel disrespected, that they feel that the history of Japan is being disrespected, that there's cultural conflicts in regards to this game, that they are disrespecting them as a nation. And I stand with the Japanese gamers. If you guys are watching this, if you're from Japan, you feel like Ubisoft is just basically throwing everything about y'all's respectful, beautiful country down the toilet. I stand for you guys. 92,000 people can't be wrong. This isn't a right-wing grift. All right, that's what people tried to label it as. They said all this was created because of people like Grums and other right-wing grifters making fake outrage videos, when we got actual Japanese gamers talking about this being disrespectful to their country. I've seen people downplay this whole petition. Oh, it's just 90,000 people that weren't going to buy the game anyway that are crying about it. The game's going to sell and do well. Completely negating that Ubisoft is taking a fake story about Yasuke created by Thomas Lockley and running with it as a historical, accurate story. And that's the problem with this. It's not just because it's a right-wing grift. At this point in time, it's gone beyond that. In fact, there's a full investigation going on. And there's even politicians that are getting involved with this, taking this to the Japan Diet, presenting this as a diplomatic incident. This is backfiring harder than Ubisoft probably could have ever dreamed of. And it's all because of Thomas Lockley, who wrote this book, The True Story of the Legendary African Samurai. He went and made a fictional 400-page story based on, like 2 documents of Yasuke, when there was nothing about him, made him into a legendary African samurai, and got busted going and editing the Wikipedias and the Encyclopedia Britannicas with his story as a source, just so he could promote his books, just so he could promote his story. It's actually a pretty big fucking scandal, to the point where Thomas Lockley's actually basically being off the grid at this point. Here's an article from Minimal Effort Gaming saying African Samurai author Thomas Lockley has been kicked out of Japan. So apparently he's gone off the grid as the internet firestorm regarding his book has rapidly escalated. So this guy has deleted all of his social media, and apparently he's been scrubbed from Nihon University's staff website. So this guy's a professor at Nihon University, a historian, quote unquote, that basically has made up all this stuff about Yasuke and making him some legendary hero for whatever reason. And Ubisoft used him as a source. In fact, he was on a Spotify episode not too long ago talking about Assassin's Creed. If it wasn't for this guy, we wouldn't be seeing this false history and this false narrative about Yasuke in this game at all. This guy literally has caused it. So his resume has been allegedly scrubbed from Nihon University's website. But remember, guys, this is just a right-wing grift. All these wokies want to cry and say it's a whole bunch of right-wing white men crying about this game. And they're ignoring the fact that as of right now, over 90,000 actual Japanese gamers, citizens, YouTubers are upset. And they're calling for Assassin's Creed Shadows to be canceled. It's not going to get canceled, unfortunately. But I don't know. Maybe if you let your voices be heard enough, Ubisoft will make it right in the future. They can't be that tone deaf, right? But again, remember, this was made because the lack of historical accuracy and cultural respect has been a serious issue regarding the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows game. And it's based on Japanese samurai and ignores the fact that samurai were a higher class, a warrior class. Right? No, instead they filled in the box by putting Yasuke, romanticizing him the same way that Thomas Lockley has. Now, what's interesting enough about this is that there's a potential diplomatic incident on the horizon. It says government offices in Japan have been flooded with letters by concerned citizens. It seems that the Japanese people have begun to take notice of Lockley's claims as well as his involvement with Ubisoft's upcoming game Assassin's Creed Shadows. I said, well, Lockley claimed to tell a historically inspired tale of Yasuke the Black Samurai, it has been revealed over the past few weeks that Lockley's telling of Yasuke is almost entirely fiction and based on very little historical data, actual historical data. So there's very little actual historical data in regards to Yasuke. His book that he wrote, this tale of the legendary Black Samurai, is almost entirely fictional, guys. And he went and edited Wikipedia and stuff to make his book an actual historical source to cite from. This is honestly a big time scandal that has Japan pissed, absolutely pissed. If you weren't aware, trending on Twitter actually, Ubisoft and Yasuke were trending. I think there's a lot of pressure on Ubisoft at this point. I think this game is going to get a lot of backlash. Sure, it'll come out. Sure, it'll sell. But this game is tainted. This game is beyond tainted at this point. You know, you can see right here, they made a game that's basically the black on Asian crime simulator. I hope the game flops so hard for creating something so racist and disrespectful. And that's right, you get to play as a big, black, hulking guy that's not only violent and cutting off heads of people, and it's to hip-hop music, which is absolutely tone deaf. But apparently now he's also LGBTQ. So he can cut your head off or he could... he could turn you around and make you learn today. So pick your poison, guys. A DEI activist dream. So yeah, it's definitely backlashing on them. You can see... I'll spend the whole year without buying a single thing from Ubisoft. So you can just see people are just like giving your money to Ubisoft in 2024 is racist. So people are just calling this out. Now it says, to make matters worse, Lockley has been caught editing Wikipedia encyclopedia entries regarding the subject of Yasuke, seemingly to support the narrative that he constructed in his book. As more people have begun looking into Lockley's deceptive attempts to alter history, he seemingly fled all of social media. So yeah, this guy's in hiding, guys. This is what they do. They vanish. They vanish. This guy is gone, right? And there's a new report apparently that is stating that not only is his program on NHK called Black Samurai Yasuke, the African samurai who served Nobunaga, has been removed from the media site, Lockley's resume has been scrubbed from their website as well. So who knows what's going on here, but this is big. You can see there's tweets out about it. They've launched an investigation into the historian. And he's gone. He appeared on their podcast and was widely cited in all the edit revisions. And he was later accused of using an alt to edit Wikipedia to promote his own books and papers. This is probably one of the biggest blunders in gaming history that I could think of at this point, guys. I could never think of another point in time where I've seen... not just gaming, not just Ubisoft. Let's take Ubisoft away. Let's look at all the media in recent years that has bought into this gentleman's story about Yasuke. Just because society's raising us to be like, hey, DEI needs to be everywhere. DEI needs to be injected everywhere. Diversity needs to be shoved in. We need to praise and blackwash everything. It's not that we hate black characters and stuff, guys. It's the fact that this story of Yasuke has been embellished on, has been escalated and exaggerated to points where it's not even accurate anymore. It's not even historically accurate. Even Ubisoft came out and said that there's so little known about Yasuke that they're actually able to use creative liberty in it to make a good story for the game. Spoiler, I bet he's related to Ezio in the game. I bet you. So it's like you're historically portraying a guy as an actual history, like a legendary historical figure, even though it's not true at all. It doesn't make sense. And you've had all these wokies yelling at us about that he's actually a real legendary hero and that we're just racist and that we're grifting about all this. Meanwhile, you have Japanese people legitimately pissed, taking their concerns to the government And you're even seeing other websites. Look, Backlash over claims that black slaves are popular among feudal lords in Japan. So Variety and the Tokyo Weekender are actually writing about this. And you can see that there's a movie coming up. A musical actually, not a movie, I'm sorry. Yasuke the Black Samurai. It's expected to open in 2026. With few historical documents on Yasuke, the story is likely to be chiefly based on the words of Thomas Lockley, an associate professor at Nihon University. He co-authored the first book in the world about Yasuke in 2019, but how much of what he wrote about the man dubbed the first non-Japanese samurai is true? Not a lot, according to netizens. The English author has received widespread criticism, particularly in the past few days, and has reportedly deleted his Facebook page. The biggest backlash has been against his claim that several feudal lords in Japan were happy to make use of black slaves. So they're promoting this whole racism thing that Japan used to subscribe to, and it's offending Japanese people. They're upset about that. And it's literally promoting hate against Asians. They're calling them hateful. Now you can see there's been close to 200,000 posts on the subject. The rumor that black slaves were popular among Japanese daimyo needs to be properly refuted and stamped out, otherwise it could cause big problems later, tweeted one user. There's also been allegations that Lockley edited the Wikipedia under the name Toto Ritome. And yeah, here we go. Here's a post actually showing potential evidence that Toto Ritome is an alt of Thomas Lockley. You can see right here. It says they're a faculty member at Nihon University, College of Law, Tokyo, Japan. His interests are primarily Japanese related. So, I mean, this is literally a scandal, guys. Like this is blowing up. Again, over 90,000 signatures on a fake right-wing outrage grift, right? And you know, people are just tweeting about it, saying this has just exploded into a diplomatic incident. Letters are being sent with questions to the Japan Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Tech, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. While the government have not taken action yet, they're waiting for final release of the game to decide if there's mounting pressure in Japan to address the issue with Ubisoft portraying false info to Japanese children. And here's a video that is actually gathering steam. This is a political aide in Japan talking about all this. Like, for real, these are actual, like, Japanese government, Japanese politicians addressing all this, guys. And I still, to this day, hear people saying it's just a stupid right-wing grift caused by people by Grumps. And I want a fucking apology for that. And you can see, here's the questions that are brought out. There's multiple questions. So you can see, it has pointed out that Thomas Lockley wrote a book about Yasuke's story, which he created from his own imagination, and spread the contents of the book as historical fact all over the world, and that this is a movement to make a fabricated history of the truth of the world without many Japanese people even knowing about it. Please tell us the government's opinion on this point and its future policy. And what's funny enough is the Japanese version of Lockley's book has a lot of stuff edited out. That's in the Western American version, because they don't want Japanese people to read it and actually see the false stuff there. There's literally a cover-up. You see, the other question is, Assassin's Creed Shadows, a new game being developed by French company Ubisoft, is set in the Sengoku period of Japan, and Yasuke appears as the main character. This company has been taken over by people of the political correctness movement, and from the pre-release interview footage, the disrespect for Japan is blatant. The content of the game that has been partially released has also been distorted and grossly disrespectful of Japanese culture, history, and Japanese people. For example, in an interview, a person in charge of the grotesque decapitation scene said, "Death was a common occurrence in Japan at that time, and most people died by having their heads neatly cut off. I'd like to know the government's views on this matter and its future policy." Again, this is to hip-hop music, cutting heads off of Japanese people. Like, imagine thinking Japan wouldn't be offended by watching videos of a foreigner cut off their people's heads. And yeah, look. Everything about this is being posted everywhere. He's being erased. Nihon University. Deleting the program. For lying. For spreading lies. And you see they're talking about it. Historians, newspapers, and the Diet are united against this distortion of history. It may soon become a government matter. Imagine that this goes that far. This is trouble for Ubisoft because they weren't responsible. They wanted to fill in diversity checkboxes. They wanted to please wokies, a small percentage of the population they wanted to please by putting a person of color in a game and putting a fake story on it. That's what it came down to. And Hypnotic put out this banger tweet right here saying, there's a few shills online and YouTubers who worship DEI that are going to be real sick to know that they bought into an obvious lie that everyone knew except them somehow. Y'all really based your entire DEI mindset around Yasuke from the fake news of a white man. Which is funny. They hate white people, but they sure as fuck bought into Thomas Lockley's fabricated fake story just because it checked all of the boxes of DEI. DEI destroys art, guys. DEI creates lies. DEI is not good. Look what DEI has done. Over 90,000 signatures. Look what DEI does, guys. Quit denying it. Quit lying about it. Even famous celebrities, Japanese comedians. Look, this one right here. Japanese comedian with over 3 million followers has spoken out about his concerns with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Atsushi Tamura is part of the company duo London Boots 123 Ranbu. This issue with Ubisoft is now nuclear level in Japan. And it's not just us fake outraging guys. Look it up. The Japanese people are pissed. Rightfully fucking so, guys. Rightfully so. Grumps put, I could tell you that from all my Japanese sources, Ubisoft has kicked the hornet's nest. Celebrities are speaking out about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Thomas Lockley's being scrutinized. This isn't about grifters complaining about people of color in games. It's close to a diplomatic incident. And that's what they want to tell you guys. The Kotakus of this world, the lefties, they want to try to point it as us being some kind of like racist movement, some kind of grift, that we're brainwashing our viewers and the people that watch us to believe in all this fake outrage, when that's not the case. You're telling me that an actual country stepping up to talk about the disrespect, the lack of historical accuracy is a right-wing grift? You're literally negating the opinion and the outrage of the Japanese people, and that is disgusting. You talk about diversity, but then you're throwing a whole country's feelings away about an actual disgusting display of disrespect towards them. Again, 90,000 people signing this. Upset at Ubisoft. Upset about Thomas Lockley. And these people want to label it as right-wing grift still. It's fucking unreal, the disrespect that's being put on the Japanese people. So, guys, if you're from Japan, let your voice be heard. Send in letters to your government. Send in letters to Ubisoft. Sign that petition. Sure, it's not going to cancel the game, but let your voices be heard. Don't think that it doesn't matter. It does.